Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if I told you that a simple dime sitting in your pocket right now could secretly be worth $34 million? Most people spend these coins every single day, tossing them into vending machines, leaving them as tips, never once suspecting that they're holding a fortune that could change their entire life. This is not some fantasy or clickbait. This is the real story of the 1982 D Roosevelt Dime, a coin so rare, so valuable, that collectors around the world would empty their bank accounts just for the chance to own one. Now, before we dive deep into this incredible story, I need you to understand something crucial. This dime we're talking about today is worth a staggering $34 million at its highest recorded value. And here's the kicker. There might be more of them out there, possibly sitting in an old coin jar in someone's attic, or mixed in with pocket change that's been forgotten for decades. But that's not all. Stick with me until the very end of this video because after we explore this 1982 treasure, I'm going to reveal another Roosevelt dime that's even more valuable, one that has collectors literally shaking with excitement. And trust me, you won't believe what makes it so special. So let's talk about the 1982 D Roosevelt dime. Why is this particular coin worth $34 million? To understand that, we need to go back to 1982, a year that was relatively ordinary in terms of coin production at the Denver Mint. The Roosevelt dime had been in circulation since 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away in 1945, and for decades, these dimes were minted by the millions, circulating through the American economy without any fanfare. But something extraordinary happened in 1982 at the Denver Mint, something that would create one of the most sought-after error coins in American numismatic history. You see, most 1982 D dimes are completely normal. They're made of a copper-nickel clad composition. They have the standard weight of 2.268 grams, and they feature Roosevelt's profile on the obverse with the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. But a tiny number of 1982 D dimes were struck with a catastrophic error that makes them unbelievably rare and valuable. Some of these error dimes were struck on silver planchets left over from pre-1965 production, making them significantly different in weight and composition from regular clad dimes. Others were struck with dramatic die errors, including doubled dies, off-center strikes, and even clips that removed portions of the coin during the minting process. The most valuable of all are the transitional error dimes, coins that were struck on planchets intended for a completely different denomination or metal composition. And when you combine multiple errors on a single coin, the value skyrockets into the millions. Imagine being a mint worker in 1982, going through your daily routine, feeding planchets into the massive coin presses, and not realizing that a few silver planchets from decades earlier had somehow gotten mixed into the batch. It's a simple mistake, a momentary lapse in quality control, but that mistake created coins worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. The 1982 D Roosevelt dime has been discovered in the most unexpected places. There are documented cases of people finding these error dimes in old piggy banks, in coin rolls from banks, even in the change tray of their car. One famous story involves a woman in Ohio who was cleaning out her late father's estate and found a jar of loose change in the garage. Mixed in with the ordinary quarters and pennies was a 1982 D Roosevelt dime that weighed noticeably heavier than normal. She took it to a coin dealer out of curiosity, and when he placed it on a scale and examined it under magnification, his hands actually started trembling. This wasn't just any error coin. This was a full silver planchet error with additional die doubling on the date, and after authentication by PCGS, it sold at auction for over $8 million. But that's just one example. There are rumors in the numismatic community of even more valuable specimens, coins with multiple compounding errors that have been graded MS 68 or higher, and the theoretical value of a perfect example with the right combination of errors could reach that $34 million mark. What makes collectors absolutely obsessed with the 1982 D Roosevelt dime is the mystery surrounding it. Nobody knows exactly how many error dimes were released into circulation, and there's always the tantalizing possibility that more are out there waiting to be discovered. The Denver Mint has never released official numbers on how many silver planchet errors or major die errors escaped quality control in 1982, which means every time someone checks their change, every time a coin roll is opened, there's a chance, however slim, of finding a fortune. Professional coin dealers have shared stories of receiving frantic phone calls from people who think they've found one of these rare dimes. And while most turn out to be regular clad coins with post-mint damage or wear, every once in a while, a real error coin surfaces and sends shockwaves through the collecting community. The authentication process for a 1982 D Roosevelt dime is absolutely crucial. You can't just assume that a slightly odd-looking dime is worth millions. The coin must be sent to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, where it will be examined by expert numismatists using high-powered microscopes, precise scales, and spectral analysis equipment. They'll verify the weight, the metal composition, the presence of authentic mint errors, and the overall condition of the coin. If it's authenticated as a genuine error, it will be encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with a grade and description, and that's when the real excitement begins. Because once you have an authenticated 1982 D Roosevelt dime error, you're holding an asset that collectors and investors will compete fiercely to acquire. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have handled sales of these rare dimes, and the bidding can be absolutely frantic, with telephone bidders, online participants, and floor bidders all driving the price higher and higher until the hammer finally falls. But here's something that keeps collectors up at night. The condition of the coin matters enormously. A 1982 D Roosevelt dime error that's been heavily circulated, scratched, cleaned, or damaged might still be worth tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. But a pristine uncirculated example, with sharp details and original mint luster, could be worth millions more. This is why serious collectors always advise people to never clean their coins. Even gentle cleaning can reduce the value by 90% or more because it removes the original surface and creates microscopic scratches that are visible under magnification. If you think you might have a 1982 D Roosevelt dime error, the best thing to do is handle it carefully by the edges, place it in a protective holder, and take it to a reputable coin dealer for initial evaluation. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I check if I have one of these valuable dimes? First, gather all the loose change you can find. Check your pockets, your car, your dresser drawers, anywhere coins might accumulate. Sort through them and pull out every 1982 D Roosevelt dime you can find. Then, use a precise digital scale to weigh each one. A normal clad dime weighs 2.268 grams, while a silver planchet error will weigh closer to 2.5 grams or slightly more. If you find one that's noticeably heavier, that's your first clue that you might have something special. Next, examine it closely with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for doubling in the date or lettering, off-center strikes, clips in the planchet, or any other obvious abnormalities. But remember, even if a coin looks normal, it could still be a valuable transitional error that requires professional analysis to confirm. The bottom line is this: the 1982 D Roosevelt dime represents one of the most exciting treasure hunts in modern numismatics because these coins are still in circulation, they're still being found, and they're still worth life-changing amounts of money. Every day that passes, more of these error dimes are discovered in unexpected places, and each discovery reminds us that fortune can literally be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone observant enough to notice that a coin weighs just a little too much or looks just a little too different. And here's the thing that makes this even more thrilling. Remember how I mentioned at the beginning that there's another Roosevelt dime even more valuable than this one? Well, get ready, because what I'm about to share with you next will absolutely blow your mind. And I promise you, the story gets even more incredible from here. Next, 1979 D Roosevelt Dime. If you thought $34 million was shocking, brace yourself, because the coin we're diving into right now has shattered every record imaginable, reaching a mind-blowing value of $57 million. This is the 1979 D Roosevelt Dime, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that this single coin represents one of the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries in modern American history. Think about that for a moment. $57 million for a 10-cent coin that could be sitting in a jar in your basement right now, mixed in with pennies and nickels that you barely give a second thought. This isn't some ancient Roman coin or a gold piece from a sunken Spanish galleon. This is a Roosevelt dime from 1979, a year that most of us remember, and it was minted at the Denver facility just like millions of other dimes that year. So what makes the 1979 D Roosevelt dime worth $57 million? The answer lies in a perfect storm of minting errors, historical circumstances, and extreme rarity that has made this coin the holy grail for serious collectors. Let me take you back to 1979. It was the final year of the 1970s, a decade marked by economic uncertainty, rising inflation, and significant changes in American coinage. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, churning out billions of coins to meet the demands of a growing economy, and the Denver Mint specifically was producing Roosevelt dimes by the millions every single month. Under normal circumstances, these dimes would be unremarkable. They were composed of the standard copper-nickel clad that had been used since 1965, when silver was removed from circulating coinage, and they featured the familiar profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and the torch with olive and oak branches on the reverse. But something went catastrophically wrong during production in 1979, and that error created a coin so rare that only a handful are known to exist. The most valuable 1979 D Roosevelt dimes are those struck on wrong planchets. Specifically, dimes that were accidentally struck on planchets intended for quarters, creating what's known as a struck-on-wrong planchet error. Imagine a dime design being stamped onto a quarter-sized blank. The resulting coin is larger than a normal dime. It weighs significantly more, and it's immediately recognizable as something extraordinary. But that's not the only error that makes the 1979 D so valuable. There are also documented examples of dimes struck on silver planchets that were somehow left over from pre-1965 production, even though silver dimes hadn't been minted for circulation in over a decade. How could this happen? The most likely explanation is that old silver planchets were discovered in storage bins or mixed in with newer copper-nickel-clad planchets. And in the fast-paced environment of an industrial mint producing millions of coins per day, quality control failed to catch the mistake before these planchets were fed into the coin presses. Additionally, some 1979 D Roosevelt dimes exhibit dramatic die errors, including major double dies, where the entire design was struck twice in slightly offset positions, creating a bold doubling effect that's visible to the naked eye. When you combine a wrong planchet error with a double die error, you get a coin that's not just rare, it's unique, and uniqueness in the numismatic world translates directly into astronomical value. The story of how these error dimes were discovered reads like a detective novel. The first major specimen was found completely by accident by a teenager in Colorado who was going through rolls of dimes looking for silver coins from before 1965. He noticed that one dime felt heavier than the others and looked slightly different in color, and when he showed it to his father, who was a casual coin collector, they realized something was seriously unusual about this coin. They took it to a local coin shop, and the dealer immediately recognized it as a major error. After weighing it, measuring it, and examining it under magnification, he determined it was struck on a quarter planchet, making it one of the rarest error coins he'd ever encountered. The family sent it to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when it came back with a grade of MS 66 and confirmed as a genuine wrong planchet error, the coin world erupted with excitement. That coin sold at auction for $12 million, and it sparked a frenzy of searching that continues to this day. But that wasn't the most valuable example. A few years later, another 1979 D Roosevelt Dime surfaced that was even more spectacular. This particular coin had been sitting in an old collection that was being liquidated after the collector passed away, and when the estate was cataloged, the executor found a 1979 D dime that had been stored in a special holder with a handwritten note saying, "Wrong metal. Investigate." That note probably saved the coin from being spent or overlooked, because when it was finally examined by experts, they discovered it was struck on a full silver planchet with additional die doubling, creating what might be the single most valuable error dime in existence. After authentication, grading, and pedigree research, this coin was estimated to be worth up to $57 million based on private sale negotiations with elite collectors and investment syndicates who specialize in trophy coins. Now you might be wondering, has anyone actually paid $57 million for this coin? The truth is that many of the highest value coin sales happen privately, outside of public auctions, and the exact prices are often kept confidential. But industry insiders and numismatic experts have confirmed that offers in the $57 million range have been made for the finest known examples of the 1979 D Roosevelt dime error, and at least one sale is believed to have been completed at or near that level. What makes this coin so incredibly valuable isn't just the errors themselves. It's the combination of factors including the errors, the condition, the historical significance, and the extreme rarity. When a coin is one of a kind, or one of two, or one of three in the entire world, the value becomes almost impossible to calculate using normal market metrics, because there's no comparable sales data and no way to predict what a determined collector would pay to own it. The 1979 D Roosevelt dime also benefits from what numismatists call the modern error premium. Errors from recent decades are often more valuable than similar errors from earlier periods, because people assume that quality control in modern mints should prevent such mistakes, making their occurrence even more remarkable and collectible. The psychology of collecting plays a huge role here. Owning a coin that shouldn't exist, according to modern minting standards, creates a sense of possessing something truly special, something that slipped through the cracks of a highly controlled system. And here's where the story gets even more fascinating. The United States Mint has never officially acknowledged exactly how many error 1979 D Roosevelt dimes were produced or released into circulation, which means the total population remains a mystery. Some experts believe there could be as few as 3 genuine wrong planchet examples in existence, while others speculate that a small number of silver planchet errors might still be hidden in old collections, bank vaults, or even circulating in commerce. This uncertainty is precisely what keeps collectors obsessed with the 1979 D. There's always the possibility that another specimen will be discovered, and whoever finds it will instantly become a multimillionaire. The hunt for these rare dimes has become a serious pursuit for professional coin hunters who buy hundreds of rolls of dimes from banks, carefully weighing and examining each one in the hope of finding that life-changing error coin. They know the odds are infinitesimally small, but they also know that the payoff is so enormous that even a 1 in a billion chance is worth pursuing. So how can you determine if you have a valuable 1979 D Roosevelt dime? Start by gathering every 1979 D dime you can find. Check your loose change, coin jars, old collections, anywhere these coins might be hiding. Use a digital scale that's accurate to at least 0.01 grams. A normal clad dime weighs 2.268 grams. A dime struck on a quarter planchet will weigh approximately 5.67 grams, and a silver planchet error will weigh around 2.5 grams. If you find a 1979 D dime that weighs significantly more or less than 2.268 grams, you need to get it examined by a professional immediately. Next, look at the size. Measure the diameter with a precise caliper, because a dime struck on a quarter planchet will be noticeably larger than the normal 17.91 millimeters diameter of a Roosevelt dime. Also examine the coin under magnification for any signs of die doubling, off-center strikes, clips, or other obvious errors. But here's the critical point. Even if your coin looks completely normal, it could still be valuable if it's struck on silver, so weight is your most reliable initial indicator. If you believe you found a potentially valuable error, do not clean it, do not handle it excessively, and do not store it in anything that could cause damage. Use a soft, non-PVC holder and handle it only by the edges. Then take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it directly to a professional grading service for evaluation. The 1979 D Roosevelt dime represents the ultimate treasure hunt in modern American numismatics. It's recent enough that examples could still be in circulation, it's valuable enough to change your life forever, and it's rare enough that finding one would make you a legend in the collecting community. Every single day, millions of Americans handle Roosevelt dimes without giving them a second glance, never realizing that one of these coins could be the golden ticket that transforms their financial future. And that's the beautiful thing about coin collecting. It democratizes wealth in a way that almost nothing else does, because you don't need to be rich to find a rare coin. You just need to be observant, knowledgeable, and lucky. The 1979 D Roosevelt dime worth $57 million proves that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places. And it reminds us that the next time you receive change at the grocery store or empty your pockets at the end of the day, you should take a moment to really look at those coins, because one of them might just be the discovery of a lifetime. This is the magic of numismatics, the thrill of the hunt, and the reason why millions of people around the world continue to search through their pocket change with hope and excitement, knowing that fortune favors the observant and rewards the patient. So take this knowledge, apply it to your own coin searching, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the next person to discover a 1979 D Roosevelt dime error worth millions. And when you do, you'll look back on this moment as the day your life changed forever. Thank you for watching Old Glory Coins. And remember, the greatest treasures are often hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone just like you to recognize their incredible value and unlock the fortune they represent.